Well, we made it. We made it. College football season is here. College football smothered and covered is out here in Ireland at the Aer Lingus Football Classic. Florida State and Georgia Tech coming up tomorrow. But today, we thank you for making college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On, your first listen. Always go check out everybody on the Locked On Podcast Network. We do the great job covering college football as a whole. So, look, everybody's excited about this season. Go listen to everybody on the Locked On Network. We do a great job here. So we want to make you excited about college football season. This show brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable online or offline. That's right. You're stuck on an airplane. Wi-Fi sucks. Don't worry. You can pull up Ultimate College Football Head Coach, Ultimate GM. They have you covered. And Lord knows, flying out here, the internet was a little sketchy over the middle of the Atlantic. We got the job done. Use promo code Locked On CFB. That's Locked On CFB. Has to be all caps. Locked On CFB inside the game, and you'll receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today with Ultimate GM. Use Locked On CFB. All right, I want you all to look at this picture. Just look at it. Took this today. They let me in Aviva Stadium. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? The first college football game of the season will be played right there. And let me tell you, that stadium is immaculate. It is gorgeous. Now, I know a lot of people out there like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to watch the season starting in Ireland, whatever. I've talked to a lot of people out here. A lot of people have been showing me around. We've had meetings with a bunch of people associated with the bowl game, associated with the Irish ministry, with the private companies that are helping us out with this entire trip. And this is such a big deal to the entire country. The entire country. The amount of people that are involved in bringing this game together. And we had the opportunity to go to Sport Ireland, which is like their Olympic sport, all sport, like the hub of the entire country, which is even smaller than the state of Georgia in terms of population and land size. They care about this. You know, they won a few gold medals. They won the most gold medals they've ever had, and it's like the biggest deal. And it's like one day for the United States. But sport is growing here, and we've had the pleasure of the Enterprise Ireland folks just showing us around everywhere. But they're proud of this. They're proud of this look because this is the most important sporting event hosted in Ireland all year. And I know people say, I don't want the season to start over here. Why not? Why not? It's week 0. It's week 0. Like, what else are you going to do? You know, I know that there's this push to have home and home games. That's the one thing I don't like about this, is that this is a conference game. This matters a lot in terms of the ACC championship game, of, you know, the chances of earning one of those automatic bids. I think that in the future, and we've seen this like they had Illinois and Nebraska here, but if you're ultimately going to have this game, and I think they should continue to have this game, it can't be a conference game because there's no blueprint for this, right? Mike Norvell is an experienced coach. Brent Key's still new at this. You could have Nick Saban over here, and logistically, there's no way to make this work, right? There's no blueprint for it. So because of that, I would much rather this be an out-of-conference game. And Georgia Tech's giving up a home game. But they also give up a home game every single year. They play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which really isn't that big of a deal, but whatever. But I'm all for spreading college football to the masses. I'm all for getting people out of the mindset of NFL all day long. And if you're going to come to a place like Ireland where soccer's big, rugby's way bigger. So, it's sort of a non-traditional place to begin with, right, in terms of European sports. So why not try to get them excited in college football? They want one of those NFL games here, too. And I think ultimately they will get one because of the success of this game. But I'm all for having this game over here. The Enterprise Ireland people are fantastic. The amount of tech sport technology that's coming out of this place is mind-boggling. And a lot of them have contracts with college football teams. Talking about injury, injury prevention, metrics, wearables, all that stuff. They've got contracts with Georgia. A lot of these companies, Georgia, Iowa State, there's a lot. So it's coffee time. So if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, I got to take a sip. So I like it over here. I like it over here. I think this game should continue. I think this game will continue. And I think it'll be one of those things where fewer teams play in week 0, like we have this year. There's only like 4 or 5 games. SMU Nevada is probably the second biggest game of week 0. And I think you'll see that sort of continue. A few games here and there. You're not going to go nuts, but you're going to have a game like this that is good ultimately for college football globally. They've tried this, with basketball, and they went to China. I don't really think that's going to matter all that much because college football is so much bigger than college basketball. But I like this. I like this a lot. But again, just look at this picture. If you're watching, if you're listening, go to YouTube. Just look at it. It's beautiful. It's also on my X account. But I tell you what, that view with the glass open end, Georgia Tech staying at our hotel. A lot of Georgia Tech fans out here. I would say, if I'm guessing right now, you're going to see probably 40 Georgia Tech, Florida State in terms of school tickets sold. Both schools sold out their allotment. I think the people here, talking to some people at these pubs and whatnot, they want to like Georgia Tech more. They're adopting Georgia Tech more. And I think it's just because of Atlanta. I think it's because they recognize Atlanta. They know from a business perspective that Atlanta is much more important nationally and internationally than Tallahassee. No offense, Tallahassee folks, and it matters more to them. It's a bigger deal. So I think you're going to see probably 60-40. Probably the majority of those don't really have any affiliation, but a lot of Florida State fans here. Popped over to college, Florida State practice. So there's a contingent. Like, there's a lot of folks that traveled. My flight over here was basically, I went to Paris. A lot of Georgia Tech and Florida State fans on my flight to Atlanta to Paris, and then the little tiny plane it's called Hop. It's like a Air France derivative. It was almost all Georgia Tech and Florida State. I don't think that there were any non-football fans. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal over here, and I'm excited to watch it. Now. And look, I think with this game, let's get to the game itself, because, like I said, it matters. It really matters. I mean, I think it's crazy to think that this game could have that much of an impact on the college football playoff, but it could. And we had Brent Key on the show the other day before I came out here. I think, look, this game, the spread, I think, is at 11.5. I was at a sportsbook down here earlier, and they were just kind of moseying around. Pretty cool. But FanDuel was 11.5, I think, before I flew out here. I can't give you actual betting advice if you ask, but I can give you unsolicited advice. Take Georgia Tech, grab those points, and if you want a little money line sprinkle, do that too. I'm not saying Georgia Tech's going to win, but the value's there. And I think this game's going to be all about style, right? Styles make fights. And in this game, Georgia Tech's going to want to pound the rock. Let me tell you, I've seen a lot of teams. Georgia Tech historically, and this was 2 years ago at Mercedes-Benz when they played Clemson in the opener, it looked like men versus children for Georgia Tech. They weren't big. The size wasn't there. I'm staying in the hotel. The offensive linemen, they had a meeting. They look like every other offensive line in major college football. Brent Key's done a great job of building this roster. So I do think they're going to pound the rock with Jamal Haynes. I think Haynes King is also going to get involved in terms of the running game, and they're going to try to shorten the game. And with Florida State, they're going to want to shorten the game too, because as the favorites, they just want to get out of here. They just want to get out of here. So I think you're going to see Tech takes some risks. They're going to pound, and then try to go over the top, which I think they can do successfully. They've got a pretty good running back core, wide receiving core. We talked to Brent Key about that earlier in the week. So if it's going to be a plotting sort of old school game, take Georgia Tech. If you think they're going to win, understand this. You're going to have to put your money on Haynes King over DJ Uiagalelei. Now, if you want to do that, I'm okay with that. I really am. I think for the DJ haters out there, and I'm not a DJ hater anymore. I think that for who he is and what he's done, he's earned enough for enough respect from me to think he can handle this. But I might be wrong. Maybe he is that guy from Clemson that just never got it together. So if you feel like that, then don't be ashamed to take the upset, because this is not your Georgia Tech team of old. This is a Georgia Tech team that is built in a way to contend for a major bowl in the ACC. I'm not talking about the playoff, but pretty decent bowl. I think that is certainly what they're capable of. I think they'll get there. Maybe not this week, this year. Who knows? But I do think at some point you're going to see Brent Key get this Georgia Tech team in a spot where they can contend, because it's a sleeping giant. I truly believe that. But my pick, Florida State, I'll take them 28-21. How's that? 28-21. I think that's fair. Tech covers. Florida State wins. Tech covers. Hey, the show brought to you by Ultimate College Football HC. Head Coach is a brand new mobile game. It is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. So use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin coaching your coaching legacy today. Again, Ultimate GM, use Locked On CFB, all caps, very important, all caps, Locked On CFB. We'll take a break. We will talk about college football playoff picks, my national championship picks, why I am doing what I'm doing, why I'm dumb, and why you should absolutely rip me to shreds. It's College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Welcome back. Time to go on the record, right? Time to go on the record. So here's the record. College football playoff predictions. They are on the screen. If you are listening, we're going to go through them just so you can hear them. Number 1, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Oklahoma State. Those 4 teams, 4 Power 4 champions. You don't have to be a Power 4 champion, but you have to be one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions, no matter where you come from. They're going to be all Power 4, and they are going to get those buys. Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and Oklahoma State. No surprise there, right? No surprise. I could sit here and put myself on camera and say, well, this blah, blah, blah. The only one about that, okay, let's talk about 3 and 4. Because Clemson and Oklahoma State. I'm still a believer in Cade Klubnik. I'm still a believer in this wide receiving core. I'm still a believer in a pretty veteran offensive line, and I'm a believer in Phil Maffa. The question is the defense. They don't have a lot of experience, but the little experience they do have, especially at linebacker, can really help them get to a point where they can play just enough, just enough defense. I think they can get there. As for Oklahoma State, somebody's got to win the Big 12. We talked about the ACC earlier in the week. Somebody's got to win the Big 12. We'll go through my entire Big 12 predictions next week. I was going to do them all this week, but obviously had some travel to Ireland. But someone's got to win the Big 12. Why not Oklahoma State? This feels and screams Mike Gundy special, right? Screams Mike Gundy special. Why? They have the best player in the country, in my opinion, returning. Maybe you could argue 2 players in the Michigan defense. Maybe you could argue Quinn or Carson, whatever. Ollie Gordon II is the best player in college football this year. I firmly believe that. He's the best player in college football this year. He's behind a veteran offensive line. Bowman's been there forever. We can argue whether he's a difference maker. I don't think he's necessarily going to have to be, at least in the Big 12, because really the only other superstar quarterback is Cam Rising. We don't know how healthy he is, right? And no, if you at Arizona, sure, fine. But I think this is Mike Gundy special. Experienced offensive line, best running back that can pound the rock, experienced quarterback, experience on the defensive side. That's it. That's the analysis of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Schedule's tough, but let me tell you, if you're talking about a super dark horse, look, I don't have West Virginia in this. I know I don't. West Virginia might be someone you want to look at from a value perspective. Just saying. So that's why I have Oklahoma State number 4. If you looked at my SEC predictions, you saw Texas undefeated until the SEC championship game, losing to Georgia. No surprise, they're number 5. Oregon, Florida State, Notre Dame, whatever. Notre Dame. Okay. They beat Texas A&M, which I think they will in week 1. Are there 3 other losses? Because there's going to have to be 3 losses for Notre Dame not to make the college football playoff. Where are they? Where are they? They don't exist. They don't exist. So if you're talking about a 10-2 Notre Dame, 10-2 Notre Dame, not only is Notre Dame in, number 7 seems fair, or 8 seems fair. Because behind them, for me anyway, I've got a bunch of 10-2 teams. Ole Miss, LSU, Alabama in the SEC. I'm just saying, if Notre Dame's 10-2 and they have a win over Texas A&M, there's no doubt they're in, and I don't think they're going to jump any of or fall behind any of those 10-2 SEC teams. I just don't think they'll do that. So take Notre Dame, and then now what I do have, and I'll spoiler for the Big 12 next week. Of those 3 SEC teams that I have at 10-2, Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama, 9, 10, and 11. Of those teams, the only other one that I feel is up for debate is Utah, which I will also have at 10-2. I also have Utah at 10-2. If Alabama is the last team from a non-automatic qualifier perspective in, and they have the same overall record as Utah, which would include a win over Wisconsin on the road, that Alabama name cachet matters a lot. So that's why I have Alabama in. Could you make an argument in my case that Utah should get in? Yeah. In fact, maybe Utah should actually get in. But as much as they say they don't care about brand loyalty, they care about brand loyalty. It's a business. What's more exciting? Kalen DeBoer in Alabama in the college football playoff, or Utah? I like Utah. I love Kyle Whittingham. I think Cam Rising's a great story, especially if he can lead them to a playoff. But nationally, internationally, speaking of international, Ireland, I just don't see how that's going to happen. I hate that kind of. I mean, I do, but it is what it is. We will take our second break, and this show brought to you by Gametime. Today's episode, of course, brought to you by Gametime. They do a lot here on Locked On. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On College, all caps, Locked On College, for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Of course, use Locked On College, $20 off your first purchase. We will crown a national championship coming up on the other side. It is college football smothered and covered. We are here in Ireland, and we're here to make picks next. All right, we're back. Ireland, right here, baby. Ireland. The season starts. Season starts tomorrow. My lighting just got screwed up by that, probably. But it starts here, Aviva Stadium. The quest for the national championship will begin here. And if you looked at CFB predictions, Florida State in at number 7, but they're going to probably have to win at that stadium in order to do so. Will they win the national championship? Let's talk about that. I didn't have a printer here, and I didn't really have I haven't had a whole lot of time So I just did this really rudimentary, ugly bracket. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. But we're going to go through some of these. Texas. If you see Texas in my Final Four, you saw that on this graphic. Boom. Texas over Ohio State, Georgia over Oregon, and then Georgia over Texas for the Natty. Why do I think Texas over Ohio State? You're talking about a Texas team that will be playing their third straight game. It comes down simply to this quarterback. And I know that's like the simple, easy, like whatever. Everyone talks about the quarterback. Quinn Ewers versus Will Howard or Julian Sand or whoever. Like I said before, said it all offseason. Will Howard cannot win you a national championship. He can get you to the playoff, and he will if he's the starting quarterback for Ohio State. He cannot win it. Some of the other guys can, but they're going to be running into Quinn Ewers. They're going to be running in to a great offensive line. They're going to be running to a running back core that I think is going to be pretty good. So that's why I have Texas over Ohio State. Now, back to the rudimentary ugly graphic. Oregon and Georgia in the other semifinal. Sort of the same analysis that I had with Texas and Ohio State. Quarterback play. Pretty simple. Carson Beck over Dylan Gabriel. Said all offseason. I think Dylan Gabriel, a lot like Will Howard, good enough to get you there, not good enough to win you a national championship. And if you run into a team like Georgia, that's going to have a ton of heat, ton of weapons, is you going to be able to outduel Carson Beck sipping coffee? No. Good coffee in Ireland, by the way. Really good tea. Really good Guinness. The Guinness tastes much different here than it does in the States. Much different. And I don't like Guinness in the States. Love this stuff. As you can see, little puffy. But Georgia, I think Trevor Etienne's going to take over that game if they do meet. I think he will basically say, all right, look, we're going to grind you until we wear you down. That's what Georgia does a lot anyway. It's what Alabama did back in the day too. So I think that's how that game's going to go. Dylan Gabriel will not have seen anything like Georgia's defense. The speed, the size, just it's going to be brand new to him. If this game happens, it's going to be brand new to him. So that's why I have Georgia over Oregon. Now, we've talked about it a lot before the playoff has started. For the last however many years we've had this whole system set up. What happens if teams play for the third time in one season? Texas and Georgia will. Third time, one season. I have Georgia losing in Austin. I have Georgia winning in Atlanta. And I have Georgia winning in Atlanta again in the national championship game. It's really hard to beat a team twice in one season. Kirby Smart's too smart to let that happen in the SEC championship game. There's no blueprint for the third time. So who do you trust more, Sark or Kirby? Kirby. I love Sark, but Kirby. I think Sark might overthink things. If this scenario happens, I think Sark might overthink things, and Kirby will just go about his business. And I think at that point, I think Texas is going to be okay at wide receiver, but Georgia's secondary is going to be so strong by that point. I hate this cliche where, well, they're not really freshmen anymore. No, they're still freshmen. No, don't get me wrong. They're still freshmen, but they're freshmen who will know exactly where to be, why to be there, and they will slow down Quinn in the passing game. So that's what I think is what's going to happen in the national championship. And, some of it is home field. Like, if this happens, Texas will travel to the SEC championship game. Texas will travel to the national championship game. But Georgia's a better team, and Georgia might get wrapped up in that first game in Austin. Because I said in the SEC preview show, it's going to be the biggest atmosphere in Texas football history. And I truly believe that. But I'm all for Georgia winning the rubber game. And I don't know what the crowd or the national reaction will be to something like that, but it will be one of the greatest fears. I don't know. But anyway, with Georgia winning, the dynasty will be set. Now, I know I'm not the one to throw around dynasty, right? Because you don't have to have a dynasty. I don't necessarily think Alabama was a dynasty after 2012. To be a dynasty, you have to rule something, right? I see a lot of castles around here. You have to rule, you have to live in that castle, right? Your family does. So Georgia didn't win it last year. So they don't rule college football, right? I still think they were the best team in the country last year. They lost at the wrong time. That would have been 3 straight. If that happened, this would have been 4 straight. Running college football. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen in what should be a fantastic, fantastic season. And that season, again, it starts, boom, right there. Aviva Stadium, right outside my window, about, I don't know, 3 miles, whatever it is. Aviva Stadium, Florida State, Georgia Tech. Open things up Saturday afternoon, Saturday night here in Ireland. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I know you can't wait either. Hey, thank you for making College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On, your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. They got everything covered. NIL, complementary alignment, previews for the season, whatever. You can find a link to Locked On College Football in the description below, so you don't have to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Football season is here. We will have a postcast after Florida State and Georgia Tech. Until then, enjoy your Friday. Make sure you follow the coverage here on my YouTube channel. We'll have some of that before the game, have some sights and sounds, and of course, we'll have some post-game stuff on Outkick before recording this show, maybe after recording this show. Till then, have a good one.